Let me start by saying that a formal course of classes under the direction of a teacher or tutor having actual lesson objectives is the best and easiest way to learn the concepts, procedures, and techniques involved in basic musicianship. This video is only meant to be a quick overview of and introduction to the subject. Basic musicianship consists of mastering the reading, writing, and understanding of standard musical notation and combining it with learning to mentally hear that which is written on the page. Conversely, it consists of the ability to hear any musical performance or to mentally hear any imagined tune and write it in the standard musical notation directly, whether you are sitting at a desk or in a car, away from any kind of musical instrument. This skill is demonstrated nicely in the movie Amadeus when the character, Salieri, reads and mentally hears the original music of Mozart.
These are originals?
Mm-hmm.
Astounding. It was beyond belief. These were first and only drafts of music. But they showed no corrections of any kind. Not one. He had simply written down music already finished in his head. Page after page of it, as if he were just taking dictation. And music, finished as no music is ever finished. Displace one note, and there would be diminishment. Displace one phrase, and the structure would fall. It was clear to me that sound I had heard in the Archbishop's palace had been no accident. Here again was the very voice of God.
Music is like any other language. Languages can be written and read, and they can be spoken and heard. We can understand words by reading them, and we can understand words by hearing them because we have learned to associate individual written symbols with the individual spoken sounds. For example, when we read the word cat, we hear the word cat. And whether we read or hear the word cat, we get the same mental picture. The goal of basic musicianship is to hear the musical tone when we read its symbol, and to mentally picture the musical symbol when we hear the tone. The fundamental unit of all music is the tone. The individual tone has 4 characteristics which can be manipulated and combined to create a nearly infinite number of complete musical ideas. The 4 characteristics of a tone are pitch, duration, dynamic, and timbre. When there is more than one tone, we have what is called an interval. Usually this interval involves a change in pitch. Although this video does not get into the specific exercises and background knowledge needed to learn to read, write, and determine the distances and qualities of the assorted musical intervals, add to your studies of these 4 characteristics the learning of key signatures along with the number and placement of their associated sharps and flats. Such knowledge will determine your ultimate success in developing your basic musicianship skills. The process of ear training includes exercises for developing the ability to hear and sing written notes, intervals, melodic phrases, complete melodies, and themes. To accurately write either mental or heard intervals, phrases, and themes. To hear written chords, including recognition of chord quality. And to accurately write either mental or heard chords or vertically arranged tones. We can begin by talking a little about one of the commonalities that occurs between all major and minor scales, their interval patterns. Although most melodies contain stepwise scale-like patterns, that thing which we call the musical scale is actually nothing more than a contrived educational tool. Scales are extracted from real music by simply taking the various notes of a melody and lining them up in a stepwise manner from the lowest to the highest. Here are two examples, one in the key of C major, and another in the key of A major. Once the scales have been extracted, we can examine the relationships between the tones more closely. In Western music, the smallest audible difference between any two tones is what we call a half step. The next smallest difference between any two tones is what we call a whole step. Notice that the whole half-step patterns that make up both the C and A major scales are identical. That is to say, both scales consist of a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step pattern. This same pattern exists for any major scale. If you learn and apply to these patterns the information gathered from each of the key signatures, sharps or flats, you will have gained enough knowledge to reason out the basic pitch information associated with both ear training and musical transposition. Another observation of consistency we can make concerns the auditory relationship between the tonic, or scale degree 1, and each of the other notes of the scale. Since the whole and half-step relationships remain constant in every major scale, it follows that the distances between scale degree 1 and the other degrees within the scale will remain constant from one major scale to the other. Distances between notes are measured by the number of staff lines and spaces between them. Thus, if a C natural is counted as 1, a D natural, being one line or space up, would be counted as 2, giving us the interval of a second. C natural, again being counted as 1, to E natural, being 2 lines or spaces up, would be counted as 3, giving us the interval of a third. Intervals also have qualities, and when we talk about the quality of an interval, we are talking about its unique sound. Interval qualities are categorized as major, minor, perfect, augmented, and diminished. Thus, we can have a major third, or a perfect fourth, an augmented second, a diminished fifth, etc. The intervals that occur diatonically in any major scale between scale degree 1 and each of the other scale degrees are between 1 and 1, perfect unison, 1 and 2, a major second, 1 and 3, a major third, 1 and 4, a perfect fourth, 1 and 5, a perfect fifth, 1 and 6, a major sixth, 1 and 7, a major seventh, and 1 and 8, a perfect octave. Diatonic intervals can be altered or converted to the remaining qualities of minor, augmented, and diminished using the following adjustments. A major interval decreased by 1/2 step becomes a minor interval. A perfect interval increased by 1/2 step becomes an augmented interval. A perfect interval decreased by 1/2 step becomes a diminished interval. In reality, any interval can be altered repeatedly and converted to any other quality. For the sake of simplicity, however, we will concentrate on these listed alterations. Once we know how to write the individual musical intervals, we need to know the sound that each interval produces. Thus, if we are looking at the written interval of a major third, we need to know instantaneously what a major third sounds like. The easiest and most established method for acquainting oneself with the sound of any particular interval is to associate the interval with a song whose first two notes correspond to that interval. This auditory reminder is called an incipit. Let's examine some of the more popular incipits associated with the intervals of major keys and their related but altered intervals. The diatonic major second is written as shown. It sounds like a very popular incipit for the major second is found in the first two notes of the song Frère Jacques. We can alter the major second in one of two ways in order to convert it to a minor second. Remember that a minor second is a major second which has been decreased in its auditory distance by 1/2 step. In the first instance, we leave the C natural alone and alter the D natural to a D flat, thereby decreasing the total distance by 1/2 step and giving us the sound of a useful incipit for the minor second is the first two notes from the opening of the theme to Jaws. The other way we can alter the major second, converting it to a minor second, is to leave the D natural alone while we raise the C natural by 1/2 step to C sharp. We still get the sound of a minor second using the Jaws incipit, though played at a slightly higher pitch. The diatonic major third is written as shown. It sounds like one incipit that can be used for the major third is made up of the first two notes of the song, When the Saints Come Marching In. The first way we can convert our major third to a minor third is by leaving the C natural alone and changing the E natural to an E flat, decreasing its auditory distance by 1/2 step. In this instance, the minor third sounds like One useful incipit for the minor third comes from the first two notes of Brahms' Lullaby. The other way to convert the major third to a minor third is to leave the E natural alone while changing the C natural to a C sharp, again decreasing the auditory distance by 1/2 step. Brahms' Lullaby would still provide the minor third incipit, and although the two written notes would still be counted as a third, the sound of it would be stepped up by 1/2 step. The diatonic perfect fourth, written as shown in the illustration, sounds like A popular incipit for the perfect fourth comes from the first two notes of the song Deep in the Heart of Texas. Perfect intervals become augmented when increased in auditory distance by 1/2 step, and diminished when decreased by 1/2 step. Note that we only show the augmented fourth in this instance. This is because the diminished fourth is enharmonic, or sounds the same, as a major third. In all but the most extraordinary circumstances, composers will write the interval as a major third. Again, the augmented fourth is a perfect fourth which has been increased by 1/2 step. Listen to how dissonant this interval sounds. It is often referred to as a tritone due to its construction, but the early church actually called it the devil's tone, primarily because it was so difficult to sight sing with accuracy. A very good incipit for the augmented fourth, or tritone, is included within the first 2 notes of the song Maria from the musical West Side Story. The diatonic perfect fifth is written as shown and sounds like The nearly universally used incipit for the perfect fifth is made up of the first 2 notes of the children's song Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. We only show the diminished fifth here for the same reason that we only showed the augmented fourth. Remember that if we increase the auditory distance of a perfect interval by 1/2 step, it becomes augmented. The augmented fifth is enharmonically equivalent, sounds the same, to a minor sixth, and will almost always be written as such. When we decrease a perfect fifth by 1/2 step to a diminished fifth, it is enharmonically equivalent to an augmented fourth. And we would use the same incipit from the song Maria. The major sixth is written as shown and sounds like One fairly well-known incipit for the major sixth are the 2 starting notes of the song My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean. As with all conversions of major to minor, we decrease the auditory distance of the major by 1/2 step. In our first example, we leave the C natural alone and change the A natural to an A flat. This C natural to A flat minor sixth sounds like One incipit for the minor sixth comes after the 2 pickup notes from a ragtime piano piece by the composer Scott Joplin called The Entertainer. Our other option is to raise the bottom note of C natural to C sharp in order to produce the necessary auditory distance. The C sharp to A natural minor sixth sounds like with our incipit sounding like Much like the tritone intervals, the augmented fourth and diminished fifth, the diatonic major seventh is quite dissonant and difficult to sight sing. The C to B major seventh is written as shown and sounds like The incipit I learned consisted of the first 3 notes of the song Bally High from the musical South Pacific. The incipit uses the first three notes because we hear a quick octave which falls to an elongated major seventh as follows. We convert the major seventh to a minor seventh, as always, by decreasing its auditory distance by 1/2 step. In our first conversion, we leave the C natural alone and change the B natural to a B flat. This sounds like one well-known song having an incipit of a minor seventh is the song Somewhere from the musical West Side Story. We can, again, raise the bottom note from a C to a C sharp while leaving the B natural alone to create the minor seventh. Thus, our incipit from the song Somewhere sounds like Finally, the perfect octave is written as shown and sounds like one song that provides an incipit for the easily recognizable octave is Over the Rainbow from the movie Wizard of Oz. These, of course, are not the only incipits to represent the various intervals. One can go to any search engine and type in the words interval incipit or musical incipit and find a host of songs containing both ascending and descending examples of these musical reminders. By the way, none of the musical examples used in this video were taken from recordings or made using published sheet music. Each example was made from memory using my music notation program and the same techniques and procedures just discussed. I point this out for two reasons. One is to impress upon you that basic musicianship and ear training is a real and useful musical tool, and the other is to emphasize to you that once you learn it, you must use it or lose it. Like any other musical technique, you and I must continue to practice. Some of the things you can do using basic musicianship are shape performances, both rehearsed and or improvised, transpose music, including instantaneous transposition, orchestrate and arrange, transcribe or take dictation, either live or recorded music, mentally hear previously unfamiliar written music, and compose or write songs. Now let's use our knowledge of incipits to mentally hear the musical symbols written in the following example. Here we have a well-known musical phrase. Our goal will be to sing the phrase, referencing only the musical notation before us. Looking at the key signature, we find an absence of sharps or flats. We know then that this phrase is either in the key of C major or its relative minor, A minor. The phrase starts on an E natural. We could actually sing any tone and call it an E natural, but I will give you the true starting tone, like so. The second note of our phrase is an A natural. Because we know our intervals, we know that an E natural to an A natural represents the interval of a perfect fifth. And in this case, we have a descending perfect fifth. One incipit for the descending perfect fifth comes from the first two notes of the cartoon show, The Flintstones. Applying this incipit to the given notes, sing a perfect fifth down. Our next interval goes from the A natural to a B natural, creating an ascending major second. We recall that the incipit for an ascending major second involves the first two notes from the song Frère Jacques. Using the incipit, we sing a major second up. We continue from the B natural to a C natural, which constitutes an ascending minor second. We recall that the incipit for an ascending minor second is comprised of the first two notes from the theme from Jaws. Using the Jaws incipit, we sing up a minor second. We continue ascending from the C natural to a D natural, which produces another major second. Again, the incipit for our ascending major second comes from the song Frère Jacques. We continue to sing up a major second. We continue to ascend from the D natural to an E natural, producing another major second. Using the Frère Jacques incipit, we sing another major second up, returning to the E natural. Continuing, we descend from the E natural to a C natural, producing the interval of a major third down. One incipit we can use for the sound of a descending major third involves the first two notes of the gospel song, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. Using this incipit, we sing down the major third from E natural to C natural. Next, we see the interval of an ascending major third, which returns us to the E natural from which we just came. We probably won't, but if we need to use it, we recall that our incipit for an ascending major third is made up of the first two notes of the song, When the Saints Go Marching In. And using that incipit, we sing upward a major third from the C natural to our E natural. The pattern repeats. As we sing downward again a major third to the C natural below. And right back up again a major third to the E natural above. The next interval repeats the descending perfect fifth from E natural to A natural, which again is represented by the incipit for the Flintstones theme. Using the incipit, we sing the descending perfect fifth. Our next interval, from A natural up to C natural, consists of an ascending minor third. The incipit, for which are the two starting notes from Brahms' Lullaby. And we sing the ascending minor third to the C natural above. We continue by singing a descending minor third, returning from the C natural to the A natural we just left. Should we need it, the incipit for a descending minor third comes from the first two notes of the song Dixie. and we use the incipit to sing down our minor third. From the A natural to the lower F natural, we find a descending major third. We recall that the incipit for a descending major third is from the song Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. And we sing the major third from the A natural to the F natural below. We continue with a leap of a perfect fifth from the F natural to the C natural above. The incipit for an ascending perfect fifth comes from the song Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And we sing the ascending perfect fifth. The final interval of the phrase gives us a descending minor third. Please forgive the uncaught error in the notation. Instead of writing a lowercase m, I inadvertently wrote an uppercase M, which would denote a major interval. Our minor third begins at C natural and concludes the phrase on A natural. Once again, the incipit for the descending minor third comes from the song Dixie. And we conclude by singing the descending minor third from the C natural to the A natural below. Of course, long before coming to the conclusion of the phrase, you probably recognized it as the opening to Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake. I transcribed and transposed it here from a recording and rendered it on my notation program. Again, I mention it only to remind you that ear training and basic musicianship is a very useful skill, but one that must be continually practiced. I hope this introduction to basic musicianship and the skills involved in mastering it have inspired you to learn it. I guarantee that once you have mastered basic musicianship, many more doors of opportunity will open to you, and pathways of success for your musical career will present themselves to you. Good luck!